create attention on the soul. And the soul sees himself as an invisible presence. And this invisible soul is the invisible traveler, is the invisible actor, is the invisible player, is the invisible angel. So different to anything in this story. It is so nice to know that we can bring about this switch. That is what the aim is. Thank you. So today we'll quickly revise some thoughts from yesterday. One sketch which we need to refer again and again is this map, our big map. And we are reminding that we belong to this world, and we are travelers. We have to remind this and underline this because we have crossed that line. And this is like a major fall when we cross this line. Then we are as if upside down. We live in the physical world, in the story world, and we have immersed ourselves. We are drowning in it. One nice image someone gave. See, there is a honey bee. And honey bee, its life is to be with the flowers and the sky and wings. You give this honey bee a honey pot, and the next thing you see is the honey bee drowning in the honey pot. It is all sweet, but honey bee is drowning. Then the success for this honey bee is to be pulled out of this honey pot. Then it can stop suffocation and experience the sky and experience the wings. Also take fragrance of the honey, but be in the sky. At present, we are drowning in this honey pot. And when we are drowning, there is suffocation. But worse is we lose the sky completely. So crossing this line is this. And all the institutions, whether it is government institution and medical institution, all social institutions, they're all trying to address this honeypot, trying to see how we can make this honey better, where there can be less suffocation, try to address this suffocation. No one knows that there is an option of discovering the wings and discovering the sky. That understanding itself is lost. That's where the spiritual angle comes in, and extraordinary insight that comes from the spiritual institution. So here we are saying that it is not just a government can do something about this. Each one will have to make this effort to come out of this honeypot in our own way and discover the sky. I like this word. Someone used the word. It is a switch, knowing to bring about a switch. And because this is not a nice commentary, nice meditation, that is not the aim. Aim is a switch. Something within us wakes up. The soul wakes up. It is like coming out of the dream and discovering a different dimension. It may happen for you may stay awake for seconds, minutes, but know that it is a radical shift. Not staying in the honeypot and finding some comfort zone somewhere and a little less suffocation. That is not the aim. Aim is discovering the wings and discovering the sky and discovering the different reality and having the right attitude towards the honeypot. Now, today we are seeing one of the big obstacle. We say, it appears this should be very easy. What we are talking about, how amazing, of course, we want to fly and discover the sky. Why should there be a problem? But there are strong knots. The soul is trapped in this honeypot with strings. And let us try and understand this. That to understand is the first step that will make the process easy. Here we are seeing below this line the same world that we are talking about, the drama. There is body, there are people, and there are many things in this world that is supposed to be car and lots and lots of goodies here. And there is the traveler passing through. The invisible soul is the traveler. And during this journey, we saw that at some point he's crossing the line and going in this direction, creating attachments. That dotted blue line is the line of ignorance. So once you are into ignorance, ignorance takes you into more ignorance. So we cannot stop that. This takes us to the level where we begin to create ego within this world. So we use the word identification. And let us try and understand this phenomena of identification. Obviously, it is a false identification. That's what we are questioning. So when we have crossed the line, we begin to identify with things, and we define ourselves based on things that are different. In a nice way, someone described this identification. Say there is a cat and cat gets some pain, you feel as if you are getting the pain. That is what we mean by identification. You feel something is you. In a good example I give is Mark Chapman. He liked John Lennon, and he was having posters of John Lennon. He had style like John Lennon. And in time, he started to feel he is John Lennon. And he's the one who shot John Lennon. So this is like an identification. And you feel that is you, but it can happen in a subconscious way. But it can, in his case, in Mark Chapman, it was a conscious level. Another good example I have is one actor and someone I know. He was acting in a certain role every day, and in his words, that role started to take over me. So he has to stop acting. Doctors advised him to finish the career altogether. Otherwise, it can create a serious psychotic situation. So these are cases of identification. I give my famous example. Here is a plant, and I water this plant. And when people praise this plant, I like it very much. And so far, so good. But today, someone criticizes the plant. I take sorrow. I take the offense. Why am I taking the offense? They did not say anything about me. They say the plant is ugly, and I take it personally. What has happened? Um, I first create an association with the plant, and then I feel the plant is in some way part of me. Subconsciously, I feel it has come into my orbit, you know. And then next level is we give a birth to an I based on the plant. That is what identification means. Now, today you say the plant is ugly. This I feels you are talking about me. Who creates this I? The soul. Soul gives birth to I based on the plant. And then you say the plant is nice. This I feels you're talking about I. You're talking about me. And so everything becomes personalized. Everything that is said taken personally. Do we identify like this? And the answer is yes. We identify with many things, and unquestioned. We identify with other people, as for example, children. Identify with positions, possessions. House can be very strange things also, like shoes. So someone may criticize the shoes, and one person may take it as a personal offense. Now, to see the absurdity of it, we are using the letter I. This I cannot be used so casually. Shoes is shoes, it is not you. And we feel it is quite okay, and some others are identifying, you have to be careful not to criticize the shoes. Someone may identify with a dog and identify with the country or town you live in. Go on identifying. Identify with some national heroes, leaders. They may not know them. They have not never met them, but they identify some celebrities. Here, Mark Chapman, he had never seen John Lennon, but he was identifying with him. But our common identities are around people, position, possessions, and that should include the body also. The people includes the first person you come in contact with, the body, and the role, things around, things around this role. That is, whatever you are associated with longer, you are more likely to identify. Like if you are in some country, some people for a long time, you identify with that. This is what we call ego. So one creates an ego based upon the nation, ego based upon people, ego based on the body. So it can be position. So yeah, more, that is more specific word.
Oh, yeah.
Identification.
I did have a question. You probably just answered it there, but just to be sure, what creates the I? Because did you say the soul creates the I, or is it the ego which creates the I? Because I always thought the soul was pure. So how would that feel the need to do that? Isn't it? That's one bit confusing. That link between.
Sure. When we show this sketch and dotted blue line, it is the soul that crosses that dotted blue line. Your soul is the only thing that is cognitive. All the cognitive functions happen at the level of the soul. The rest all is matter. So the crossing the line, coming into ignorance, it's the soul that is doing it. Soul is the one who creates attachments. Invisible traveler is the soul. And here is the invisible traveler starts to think, this is mine and this is mine, and the soul is the one who suffers.
Is the identification with something the same as forming an attachment?
It's another more severe level of attachment. One basic level of attachment is just believing that something is mine, creating possessive attitude. So there is a chair, mine, like childish thinking. But identification is you're taking it another level where you say, this is I, not just mine. You're identifying with the chair.
So if, like you gave the example of the cat, so do I start to think I'm cat?
Subconsciously, yes. Like say someone says cat is very nice. This I within you feels as if they are praising you. You are taking it so personally. And when someone says cat is nasty, just I takes it personally, take a personal offense. That is the absurdity of it. When we cross this line, we go into any level, identify with, as we mentioned, cat, it can be the shoes, it can be the religion, it can be another person. So this, in this darkness, it becomes so absurd and unquestioned. We don't even question it. We feel angry, annoyed, we react from there. I
So,
just wanted to ask first, the one who asked the question. You said the soul. You're asking, is it the soul who is identifying? Is
Yes.
that clear, or do you want to add anything to the question?
But I mean, but surely when you die, is it? I mean, I think it's just what the soul takes on. Because for me, you hear about this idea, oh, you lose your soul and all that. But I thought it was something which was eternal, which couldn't be tainted. So I just wondered. I mean, I mean, is it something which takes on these clothes, these identifications, and then when you you die, it releases all that. Is that what happens? Is that I'm just trying to work out the
Sure.
journey in a way,
Yeah, good. The people talk on this in more detail. In fact, today itself, we'll talk on it. But enough to know that soul is eternal,
Yeah.
but it does go into trouble, and soul has to be rescued.
Right. Okay.
it enters into confusion, ignorance, all that.
Okay.
Yeah. Was it next? Someone wanted to say something. Please come.
Yes,
Hi.
Hi. I was just wondering when you was talking about identification, and it's a severer than attachments. So does that mean that the majority of our attachments are subconscious? They don't come to the surface. They're just submerged.
Yes. And means they are there. We don't notice them lots of time, and even if we notice them, we think it is completely normal. So we can call it subconscious. If it is very conscious, is very few things are very conscious for us. When we give attention, it becomes conscious. But even though they are subconscious, they rule our lives. They influence. They are, like, for example, here we said the person is identifying with his religion, let us say. There is an identity based on religion. Someone says something about a religion, he will take the offense. That minute, it becomes personal. So it is conscious, subconscious, but it is very much ruling our life. And that remains, that feeling remains, anger remains, he influences his decisions next day. So they are all there. He is not consciously thinking, I am identifying with religion. He is not thinking that way. But they are very much influencing, and there is surveillance going on. Is anyone not nice to my ego? That is going on 24 hours. Now let us take an example of this, and how these identities affect us. And 100% of our sorrows and anger, it is coming from these identities. That's a big thing, big statement. Large area of serious violence and wars are taking place because of this ego. Ego is the one who takes offense. Ego is the one who gives offense. 100% of the time. If there is anger anytime, it necessarily means there is a ego there of that particular kind. And we know this, and that's why we create a society that is false society, which means people learn to feed each other's ego. So if I know you've got a ego of some kind, I rather keep quiet and not be very honest, not be transparent, or sometimes go to the extent of feeding the ego, saying something just to please other person. Like it is, oh, cat is so nice, and your plant is so good, your children look so nice. He has to say this, more to make the other person secure, feel good, and then he can do business. But it can just go on, and our life can be so superficial. but false as a result. Society is made in that direction. One girl, she said she changes her dress 8 times before she goes out to work. Why she has to do this? And of course we know there is ego of some kind. But in her case, she has received praise for her appearance, and more people praise her from childhood. Ego has got so big. The big ego is more sensitive to anything. So if she goes to work, no one says anything about her appearance. She feels something is wrong, and she has to go and buy another dress. So this is the sort of situation we have created. Something we saw yesterday. Each of these I is insecure, very insecure, and so this I is leading a life of desperation. Ego is more of a victim, forever embodiment of the victim personality. So constantly keep an eye on any dangers. Constant. It gravitates to the negative. Ego has got a memory of all negative things that have happened because it is looking for dangers. It sort of gravitates in that direction. And so there is a constant desperation. And any uncertainty creates stress. Bigger the ego, more the stress. Any loss creates depression, sadness. If he lost and he cannot blame anyone, it is depression. If he can blame someone, it takes the form of anger. If someone else gets it, he will find himself in envy. So sometimes people ask, how can we know what ego I got? Anytime there is any of these feelings, some stress comes, anger comes, unhappiness comes, some situation, someone says something about your house and you get offended, you feel anger, know that there is an identity based on the house. So you did some cooking and someone says, oh, I didn't like this cooking at all. Thank you for inviting me, but it was not very nice. Someone else does very good this whole thing, and she does better cooking than this. Is it a neutral statement to you? Do you feel this person is very honest? Thank you very much. What you liked, what you didn't like. Let us improve next time. Will you get that feeling, or will you feel this person is a troublemaker? If you get into that anger, then it means there is identity. You are identifying with image that I am a very good cook, or you may be identifying with sometimes one item there somewhere. It is always good to check this. Now that we are in the game of purification, so when situations like this come, this is not a time to blame others. That's what we did in the past. Blame other person. This person is not good, not nice to me. So let me not invite this person again. This kind of attitude. Now you are saying that's good. This person showed me what is hiding inside me. He is showing me that there is an ego, and this ego has to go. And you were not aware that it is there. As was mentioned, subconscious. It is just under the surface. But other person making a comment, scratching, it was suddenly alert. What is going on here? Why this person? When you prepared food, when you invited them, when you were You did not know that ego is here, running the game. But only when some criticism comes, then ego is noticing it. We can observe the ego more that time. When praise comes, ego is also there. And what happens when the praise comes? What happens? What would you say? When praise comes, people say, so nice, so wonderful. Can I take a photograph? Can I send it on the Facebook? So everybody is praising it. What happens?
Makes us feel good.
Makes you feel good. And with that, ego also gets bigger. Because that is a nourishment for this ego. Whole thing was done, and even all this effort was made so that ego can get a little bit more nourishment. It can be as blatant as that. That was the whole idea behind this whole effort. So it definitely becomes the food for the ego. So anyone got ego? Anyone? Yeah.
Can I ask? We're probably going to cover this, but why do we have an ego? I mean, because it just in my mind it just feels like this creature which is constantly there, just taking stuff away from us and challenging us and tripping us up. And I mean, is there any benefits to it? Is there a reason we have it? Is there a function to it? Or I mean, how? I mean, it just seems like a curse almost. The ego, you know.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I would like to ask. I was just thinking about Prashant's earlier comments about being I. So unless we identify ourselves as I, we will not be able to improve ourselves. So I can give you one example that let's say I have cooked something, and I feel that that is really good, and one of the family member eats that and comments on my food that, oh, this is not, oh, this is not good. So that I can take that as an opportunity, or take that responsibility and improve my cooking. So in that respect, I becomes dominant, and it can be helpful as well to improve ourselves. So how can we say that considering ourselves I is a is not related to the higher subconscious?
Sure. Now, let us take this example of praise, or criticism. It can help improve progress. If there was no ego, for example, you are uh, driving a car. There is a car. You are using a certain car, and
Mm-hmm.
someone says he doesn't like the shape of this car, and doesn't like this model, doesn't like anything about this car, and that is a very honest statement from him. And he would much prefers you buy a different car that cost 50,000 pounds more. That will be very pleased with if you had that car.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very good. Now, if I have ego, I will be fired to go and get this other car, and so the neighbor is happy, neighbor is impressed with my achievement. Now, if that ego is not there, and if you are soul conscious, you are operating from the soul, and you are aware that you are temporarily passing through this journey, and there is a car here, and you need to drive just a few times a week for some purpose, and this car is absolutely ideal for that job. And if you got £1,000,000 more, you can use them for many other things. You are deciding from here what is useful for you, not the neighbor. Maybe you might decide, people in your town, they all need food to start with, and that may be more important. And maybe at this present time, there is more useful to do some research into health and how to protect people of the country. That can be more useful. Or even in your family, there may be many more things more useful. Maybe the car is useful. You need a bigger car, that may be. But you are deciding. You are thinking from your peace and your priority. And neighbor, you are not upset because neighbor says this. You are very appreciative of he being very honest. But you also are able to tell him that no, this is okay for me. This car, it does the job. But appreciate his transparent and honest advice. So, long term, when you are soul conscious, you will not have regrets. Because when you are soul conscious, you are thinking from clarity. When you are operating from ego, long term, you will have regrets. Because you did it because ego wants to, if ego is bothered, he's getting this big car. And then the neighbor changes, some other neighbor comes, he wants a bigger hat, why are you having a small hat? So you are running in that direction in the name of progress. And then someone else comes, and to impress all these people, your ego is so frivolous. Ego is superficial. It is going in all these directions. And your main priorities, they are compromised. The big difference between soul consciousness and ego is a product of ignorance. We need to cross that dotted line for ego to come in. And so if you are in the soul conscious state, you prepare the food, other person said she did not like the food. You are going to say, okay, tell me, how you prepare, and you are able to take the advice, and maybe it is a right thing, or maybe it is not a good for health of anyone, what she tells. And you are able to stay with your plan next time also. And you are still free to invite her next time. If there is an ego, and ego takes a big offense, then ego is helplessly selfish. So he will say, I better not invite this person. This person doesn't like my cooking, so let her not come to me at all. And not free even to see how she can improve her cooking. Like, I will give you one example. One teacher told this mother, your son is lazy. It's very nice. That son, I know the son, is very pleasant and very intelligent, but he's fat. So there may be some laziness somewhere. She said there is some laziness in him. And his mother is not free to find out who is right and who is wrong. She wants to change the school for this boy. Why she said this. She's telling many things which is positive for the boy, but this is an area to pay attention. This is what happens. You are not really thinking of the progress of the son even. The ego is thinking of himself. She will choose a teacher that flatters her ego, not necessarily what helps the son. So this is the way life can go, when we create ego. And the question, why do we create ego? This is the abnormal. The human beings have got free will. We can use free will to commit mistakes. And this is a big, big mistake that is happening in the human race. Unquestioned, And it is unquestioned because ego is ruling our life. Ego is not going to question his own existence. So this is the situation we are in at present.
No. You have answered this quite well. Thank you. I just would like to ask, another point came into my mind about the ambitions. So, how can we relate the ambitions with the higher subconscious?
Sure. In that space, as we saw yesterday, we are secure. And when we are secure, we experience our higher peace, happiness, all those feelings come. From here comes enthusiasm. From here comes creativity. From here comes clarity. All these factors are there. You are very much aware what is going on here and you have an idea how things can get better, things can be improved, but the motivations are coming from enthusiasm, clarity, creativity. These are the factors that influence your direction, choice. One who is happy and creative, he won't just go and sleep. That will be not his priority because he's free from ego. But all these factors uh, give the direction and create ambition. In other case, when we are ego, the motivation comes from insecurity, comes from jealousy. Someone else got, so I should be doing something. Comes from comparison, competition, or come from anger in some cases. All these are the motivating factors in this. It is like flogging a horse. Uh, and when you flog a horse, because insecure, so I have to run. The horse cannot achieve his best. When you are motivated from here, from this higher space, horse is enjoying, horse is playing. And the main area we are questioning in ego is a product of ignorance. And when anything, even a great ambition, but backed by ignorance, starting position is confusion. Then down the line, there will be regrets. Yes, Sarah wanted to read some.
Isn't ego there for our survival? But shall I read the others also?
Mm-hmm.
So, how should we take or feel about praise? How to praise without feeding others' ego or your own ego?
Sure. How to protect yourself from praise? We have to stay in soul awareness. If you are in that space, then you are safe. If the soul awareness is not there, or for that matter, your children or your friends, you want to give them feedback. If they do something nice, you have to tell them, but don't overdo this because that can go in the stomach of the ego. But the highest thing you can do is let them know about the soul consciousness. So if they are in that space of self-respect, then that praise that is coming, superficial praise, they can see it for what it is and not take it in. It doesn't go straight into the stomach of the ego because he has self-respect at another level. And for ourselves, we have to make this really, really strong. So you are understanding the bigger map about yourself, not just the theory. You know your big greatness. Yeah, we said invisible traveler is the invisible angel, is the invisible prince. not the words, but come in this experience, the reality of it. You also see how superficial this is a drama. It can be Cinderella. It can be a drama of camel and elephant, and this is a bigger drama. The episode just finishes any moment. How absurd to go in, in the drama and try to get some self-respect. It's a degradation at an extreme level. When you see it like that, then it will not feed the ego. To take pleasure from someone praising the shoes within a drama, that that should appear extreme degradation, intellectual bankruptcy. So then you won't take the praise. You'll be more careful that it doesn't go further. We have to clean the old account. We don't want to create more account. But a good question: how to give feedback to others with caution, but make them soul conscious. That is more important. Yeah, other questions?
You mentioned about surveillance going on regarding the ego. What kind of surveillance is this?
Yeah, surveillance is like this. You are going, and someone in the town may just say, some statement about your religion, something about your race, something about your town, your nationality. You will notice it. It might even bother you. You might even react. Ego is constantly having this, surveillance going on. Am I safe here? Is everyone okay? Why is this person looking at me like this? Without knowing, there is a constant surveillance. Sensitivity is there. I'm talking here some gross examples, religion, nationality, but it can be your work. Are people appreciating your work? Are they appreciating this? Sensitivity is there. If the ego is there, it will matter, and you will remember. You will remember it even after months or years. Such a waste of time for nothing. That is what the ego is. Ego is like a parasite that creates such a useless activity in the system. When the soul is awake, soul is seeing this whole thing is theater, drama. Someone talks about Cinderella, someone likes Cinderella shoes, someone doesn't like. Who cares? The soul is more interested in his celestial celebration, truth, and upliftment, and God, that he is more interested in. Jokingly, we say 1 minute more with a dog, 1 minute less with God. So, if you are spending 1 minute, why this dog, or why someone not liking my dog, why someone said about it, 1 minute you spent there, 1 minute more, 1 minute less with God. You have 2 minutes here for dog and 2 minutes for the donkey, then you got 4 minutes less with God. God is there, your truth is there, your immortality is there, your own angelic truth, angelic nature is there, supreme love, it's a region of love that is there. But you have no time because you got so much full program with the dog and the donkey and the cat and the shoes and the neighbor, and to think about them again, you are busy, and 24 hours may go with the dog and no time for God. We may have to reverse this, and for that, come out of this spell of ignorance, bring the light and clarity. I'll just draw one more sketch and then we take a break and rooms. If I was to take a photograph of the mind, you might see a picture like this. So if your selfie can take a photograph of the mind, you might see something like this. There are lots and lots of I there inside, based on all these things, based on the body, and dress, and people, job, all this going on. Dog also within it. And within that is soul consciousness somewhere. There was a time we were like this. If we are souls, then there is no reason there should be any other ego of any kind. You are soul conscious, naturally. You are that invisible guest here. And you got to exit. And you don't take anything from here with you. That is represented by this sketch. Then when you start creating ego and that ego gets bigger, soul consciousness gets less. Then you create more ego and it flourish. Just like this coronavirus, it was in one place somewhere, one little market square. Let's see, the way it has spread so many countries and every possible town, village is affected, spreads very quickly. So the ego is like that. Once you go in the direction of ignorance, ego can come on anything. They grow, multiply, and we are busy feeding them, making them bigger. That's why actively we want some little praise and little bigger head. And each time we create this ego, we are bringing in negativity within our system. As we said, ego is embodiment of a victim. He will create problem of nothing forever. He is constantly looking for dangers. Bigger the ego, more paranoia. And the soul consciousness is cornered. It doesn't disappear, but it is there in a suppressed way. Your wisdom lies in creating time and helping this grow. And as this gets stronger, all this ego will become smaller. It is as if you are creating light and the darkness become less. And as the darkness becomes less, ego becomes less. So our weapon in this is clarity. So yesterday we mentioned draw certain sketches just to bring in the clarity. You are seeing the bigger map. That is one thing, and attention on the soul. Let us, words, whether you use it, the word traveler or guest, the words are not central in this, but the experience of the detachment. See the the invisible traveler distinct from the whole story. He has an exit and he has independent existence. See that clearly. During those seconds, you are growing and a deeper transformation is taking place. That is what we want to achieve. That is the purification of the soul. Otherwise, this is what we are seeing here, all this ego, within. This is all happening within the soul. That is like the illness at a deep level. That is an illness. And this illness is a cause of lots of our problems. When you are cleaning this is like the purification, and the soul gets purified, cleaned in an accurate way. Like it is not just prayer, God help purify, or some Christ to remove my sin. No, this is to remove this ego is removing the sin. It is holding the sin at that level. You remove it, you remove the sin. I will stop here, and if there are any other comments you want to.
He's asking, is it okay to have a positive ego? And he gives an example of quitting drinking to do meditation and sport. Is that a good ego? Or in other words, would it not be called an ego?
Only positive ego is soul awareness. If we call it, ego is fine. Ego just means I am. In Latin, ego doesn't mean negative. But if we create ego based on the soul, that is true. That's why we are coming in the truth. Any image based on the story and based on the drama, it is false. It appears positive, but because it is based on false and temporary situations of the drama, it is insecure and it will become negative. Any other thoughts?
Thank you for that. You answered well. I understand now. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. That was really helpful, that last question. I was just thinking about qualities and virtues that we should be really practicing and focusing on in order to let go of the ego. I mean, you just said that the ego is I am, and it's not a negative thing, but sometimes the ego can operate not for our greater good. So it would be helpful if you could expand on the higher qualities that we can practice day to day around letting go of the ego in that sense. Thank you.
Yeah, even though what we said, ego is not. It is the Latin word we were saying. Latin word ego is neutral word, but we are using it with the meaning of for false I, and this false I we don't say is as neutral. We say these are the cause of all our misfortunes, and there is soul conscious, and even better to avoid the word ego for that. We want to be soul conscious. And if we are soul conscious, stay in that awareness, that is the way we can remove these false identities or the ego. Just paying attention to the qualities, that is not enough to remove the ego. And that is not enough to bring the soul consciousness either. There are many people who can think about qualities. Ego can put up a good show also. Ego can smile and give lots of pleasantries and and it can be ego-based game that is going on. That doesn't bring soul consciousness. So for soul consciousness, we have to bring in this attention, light, clarity, and and that detachment. Well, good question. This is a question many others might have also.
Just to discriminate when the subtle ego comes in,
Sure.
and when, because of the gross ego, we can detect it more or less successfully.
Sure. Okay, so we'll come to the whiteboard, and one is to vaguely know the gross ego, but many gross egos we may not see. As was said, only when some discomfort comes, criticism comes, then you may realize that there is a ego there. Most of the time we are in denial. And these are subtle, just means you are not seeing them. They are all very blatant and very gross. They are based on the story. So the real hope for us to detect them is go on creating minutes in the truth, in the soul awareness. So let us create just a minute right now. And what is this minute? We are reminding that invisible soul, giving attention to this invisible soul, not using the letter I or let us see it objective. This invisible soul is that invisible presence, and is aware he has that home like a sky. And in the physical world, he is the invisible traveler, very, very aware of his exit. He has come to go. He is very clear of this. This whole world, with the countries and people, but the invisible traveler has an exit. So he has no intention to claim anything here, to own anything. Certainly he has no intention to create an ego in this club. He has come to go, very aware of his world beyond. That's why he is not in ignorance, he is in clarity. He sees it as absurd anyone gets stuck in that club. He sees that physical world as a story, a theater, with episodes, and episodes come to an end. And that's why the absurdity becomes even more, that anyone creates attachments in that story. All we have done is see the journey of the invisible traveler, and we saw the perspective of this traveler. Traveler is happy, but it is not an ego happiness. For him, the story is great. To come in the story is great, to come out of the story is great. To be in the home is great. It's the home of immortality. As we continue on our journey in the sky and on earth, we understand this option of soul awareness, option of clarity, option of truth. Thank you. Now using this sketch, we use the word paras. It is like a Sanskrit word for refined or subtle, but paras includes the refined and it includes divine. And we have the paras intellect, and we also have another intellect called pattar. Pattar intellect can be translated as gross intellect. So if we are using pattar, then this word, gross word, becomes everything for us. We get stuck in that. If we use paras, we can see the big map. Paras can see the subtle, can see the journey, can see our exit, can see the story as story. The whole game becomes easy if we use paras. Pattar favors the ego. If we use pattar, because ego flourishes in the pattar environment. If we use paras, the soul flourishes. Soul wakes up. And that's the big thing, soul waking up. Otherwise, when ego is the king, soul is unconscious. That's why our effort is making the soul conscious. That's that little extra factors to be aware of. Ego can play the game. Ego can pretend to be spiritual, as was mentioned. He's holy, he's kind, he's sort of doing lots of nice. He talks about God. And intention may be good. It starts with good intention. But very soon, ego says this is a chance to be seen as holy, to be seen as spiritual, this kind of some image of, but drama based. We have both paras and pattar, but if we have used pattar for a long time, it has become stronger. Just like some muscles, if you have not used some muscles, they remain weak. We have not used paras for a long time. And that's why even when we understand it, we agree with soul awareness, we agree how how unhelpful ego is, but still ego can still run the show because paras is not strong. But that's fine. Every minute you are using paras, it will become strong. as Paras becomes strong, all these experiences, subtle things, that will become more and more alive. And what a big fortune, biggest prize. No one can have a bigger prize than this. If you make Paras strong, then it makes it possible for you to experience your own greatness, experience your immortality. Truth, we are talking about coming into the truth. Otherwise, we spend our whole life in the story. God is at this level. Our home is at that level. And our true personality, if we can use the word angelic, all that follows. So a prize is big. And the method is something that you've been emphasizing, emphasis on truth. Paras makes it easy. Paras is a connecting factor. Just like there may be some nice knowledge, mathematics, but you need some intelligence to understand that, and then you are connected to it. So here there is something very precious. What is necessary is Paras. So it connects you to that whole dimension and that perspective. Some nice example in this. If you are seeing this big map, say there is Robert and Tom, and they are acting in a drama, children's drama. Robert is acting as a camel, Tom is acting as an elephant, and someone else acting as a dragon. So they make a drama for 5 minutes. When they are making the drama, Robert knows he's Robert, even when he's on the stage. Everyone is seeing the camel, but he knows he's Robert. And Tom is aware of Tom, and he knows about what they are going to do after the drama, and they remain friends, and they got a home, they got parents. That dotted blue line that we showed, that means Robert thinks he's the camel and has completely forgotten about Robert. So this is our present situation. If right now I feel this Prashant is I, it is because we have crossed this dotted line. Robert has completely forgotten about Robert, his parents, his home, his truth, his life, job, and thinks he's camel and having sorrows of camel. Why he's not enjoying the drama either now? Instead of enjoying the whole 5 minute performance, he's taking sorrow that what will happen after 5 minutes. Why camel has to leave the stage? Why elephant is doing what he's doing? He's into all competition and jealousy and sorrows unnecessarily. So that's what we are meaning here. This dotted blue line is not just an academic thing. It spoils everything unnecessarily. And we have been in that space, and something we mentioned yesterday, Plato's one statement, we don't know that we don't know. We have been in that space for such a long time that it appears completely normal. So we are drowning in that part, and it appears completely normal. What we have the option here is for Robert to wake up and realize that there is Robert. We are not trying to tell Camel you are Robert. That is not the point. Camel being very virtuous, that is not making the Robert wake up. Some different effort is required. Robert has to wake up, and that's why Paras is a most precious thing. Seeing the bigger map is a very precious thing that as if allows the soul here, that invisible actor, to see the perspective from the soul, perspective from beyond. In that perspective, he's completely free from camel. Even though he's acting as camel, someone says, "Oh, camel has got funny nose." He doesn't think it is anything to do with him. He's not thinking camel is extension of him. He is completely detached. At the same time, he's involved. He's acting the part, but free. That is the stage of the awake soul. He's involved in the drama, doing everything, but internally he's free. We'll create some more time for practice, but now we have some time for questions, and then we create time for some practice. We might take a few minutes more, go past 12. Anyone who would like to say?
I have a question. Kimi this side.
Yes.
The question is how to make the intellect more and more porous. As to, you know, it's there, but how to feed it more so it becomes more and more porous.
How to make it stronger? How to?
Yes.
Just like the muscles. More muscles. If you use the muscles, they become stronger. And I sometimes give examples of people where no muscles at all. It is almost like that, and they train and they go through the program and they take part in Olympics and get medals. So with training, anything is possible. So something similar here also. Paris is not strong, but if we understand the game, realize that we have to create time to make it stronger. Some of the sketches, the sketch that you are seeing right now, the reason I am promoting this sketch, that is like a big nourishment for Paris. You are literally seeing the bigger reality. And you can write some words in that, write the word eternal, subtle, because that word is the word of the souls. That is the home of the Father. That is the world of immortality. And with that comes many other things. If you understand you are immortal, then there are no needs. You are becoming free from this, unlimited needs and desires in the story. There is acceptance, there is peace. So everything of this kind follows. You might lose it, but that's okay, because Patthar is still strong, ego are strong, but we can create attention, bring Paras again, see the bigger map again. And see in an absolute way. How will the Paras see it in an absolute way? And then those seconds, minutes, you are making the Paras strong. To congratulate. Each minute you are doing it, congratulate yourself. So we do it with the energy of fun and energy of congratulations.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts?
If we wanted to write down a definition of Paris, how would we word it? What would be a nice way of putting it?
As we said before, it is refined. Paras includes a broad intellect. It can see what is subtle. So this is the Paras is itself a nice word. We don't have English word translate it, but enough to know that it is like glasses. You use some glasses, you are able to see things which you are not able to see before. And
Okay.
now with
Yeah, that's
these
great.
glasses, you can see that this physical world is a story. And you can see that there were actors, the invisible actors, playing the part here of camel and elephant. And these invisible actors are immortal, and they got their world beyond, invisible home. You can see it now clearly. You can see the complete map, and you see all these invisible brothers. They are immortal. They are brothers. They are immensely lovely, and they are worthy of love, and they are godlike beings, all. And what are they doing here? They're fighting for nothing. And at least you are seeing what has happened to these angelic travelers. And you are seeing that is the journey, everyone's journey, our journey. And you are seeing your own truth. The whole thing becomes easy. All that you have done is use this sight. Even in the last minute, if we got glimpses of this, during this minute we have used Paras.
Hi. I just would like to ask, as we are talking about getting the higher consciousness or getting aware of ourselves, who we are. So, as everyone knows that we are going to go and die, so and going to go to the same place where we belong. So, why there is a necessity to have this awareness at this stage?
We saw in one sketch that we create, the ego within it, ourselves, this, and there is soul consciousness here. Say if a person dies, with death we don't become clean. This is our starting position. And say during lifetime, person creates ego. To start with, to create ego is a state of ignorance. Imagine a state. You are this person, Robert. He thinks he is the camel, and he's in sorrow because the party is going to finish, and what will happen to camel? And he has completely forgotten his parents. No one would like to stay in that state for 1 second more, because it is not just a little confusion, it is madness. And he is losing, wasting his time. But in that state of madness, he can create more problems to himself. So it is right for him to come out of it quickly. But other thing that happens when we have created a state like that within ourselves, all this ego, they go from today to tomorrow. Say a person creates a good habit or a bad habit, it goes from today to tomorrow. We don't start clean next day. Same thing happens from birth and death and birth. Death doesn't clean the soul of our all these stains. Whatever is the blueprint inside, it goes with us from one life to other life. And that is why right from childhood, you will see certain tendencies in children. Their characters are different. In the same family, they are different. Even identical twins. If I ask a mother, how do you know who is who? It is identical. And she says that behavior, they are so different. So from that they know what is the different. Cells are identical, genes are the same, parents are the same environment, but they are so different because the souls and their blueprint is different. And so here what we realize, we, along with everything else going on in our life, if we create time to bring about some change here, it's the highest thing you can do to yourself. But this is one thing that is going to go with you from this life to beyond. We can't take our gold with us, but this is going to go with us. Also to be aware of this wrong consciousness we create, ego, they bring penalties. We will see it in our later sessions. And those penalties go with us from one life to other life also. So, knowing all this, earlier we bring about change, it is good for us.
I have a tendency to use divine intellect for the Paris intellect. Can you expand on that a little bit? Is that the nearest we could get to us using a word, because we like words logically, of course? What are your thoughts on that, Bai?
Yeah, I tend to use the word Paris because it is different.
Okay.
And also it is new, and it sort of gives me the insight. It helps me, like Paras includes the ability to see the subtle, ability to see the big map, and also it includes the divine. And it also has the ability to see into the distance, to interpret this, like we can ordinarily see this physical world, but Paras is able to see it for what it is. If it's a story, it can see it as a story. It is not deceived. It is the ultimate, the highest that is possible. Divine intellect, there is a separate word in Hindi, Divya Buddhi, and that is translated as divine intellect. Paras is a separate word.
Okay, that's very clear. Thank you, Bai, for clearing up that.
Maybe Prashant would like to give a homework.
Yes, maybe if we can create some 10 minutes every couple of hours where we come in the awareness of this bigger map, try and experiment with what is the Paras perspective. Just as what we played with in the last 5 minutes, come back in that experience, see the complete shift. As we said, Paras is a friend of the soul. Soul perspective becomes easier. And see from the world, camel and elephant world from beyond. Let us create a few more minutes to experiment with this. As always, we have the option to use Paras right now. And in 1 second, it is like changing the glasses. And you are seeing the great theater and a great story. So everything is happening today. This is happening in a story. And everything that happened, that is in a story. We see the reality. It is not a metaphor. This is really a performance. And in a story, there are jokers and there are heroes, there are villains. But the whole thing is harmless. The story cannot harm the reality. Paras is able to see the world beyond the story. And beyond the story is the world of silence. There is no noise of the story. World of complete stillness. We see it in the image of a sky. This world is timeless. Timeless, changeless, endless. This is the home of these invisible travelers. These travelers are immortal and their home is eternal. We realize the truth is immensely beautiful. Paras helps us to see the truth. Truth for everyone is immensely beautiful. On one side is a temporary story with variety of episodes, grand performance. And on the other side is the family of souls. They are divine beings. Godlike and childlike. They are subtle, they are immortal, they are harmless. This is the home of the family, and all are safe forever. It's the region of love, because all are worthy of love, all are loving. It's a region of love. As we continue our journey in the sky and on earth, we aim to stay awake. We aim to stay with Paras. Thank you.